Hey guys, Steve Petersky, North County Pipeline here. Just coming to you with a weekly recap of this week's stories. Um, just wanted to touch a little bit on today's story. It's kind of a wild one out of Encinitas with the post office stopping mail service for about 24 residences along Santa Fe Drive. Um, their main complaint or their concern is safety for their mail carriers with the narrower streets, um, and putting them in jeopardy with all the construction is going on for the new road improvements over on Santa Fe. And so I remember a couple weeks ago I was in Encinitas driving on Santa Fe for another story, and happened to see a mail carrier in front of me who had stopped on the road. And this is going eastbound on Santa Fe from the I-5 just before the Nardo McKinnon intersection, and he had to stop, get out of his vehicle, and then go put the mail in the box. And so basically, the tires were up against the curb, while about 90% of the vehicle was in the lane. So I had to wait for him to finish his route and go through the intersection, and then I was able to go through as well. So that's kind of been, I think, what the concerns are from the post office. The city, meanwhile, having talked to a couple of them, city council members and some staffers, they had reached out to the post office in 2021, telling them what was going on. Here's the new plans, this, that, and the other. They also communicated or sent over the plans when it was 50% design completed and 90%. Received no comments or any kind of concerns from the post office, from what city spokesperson was telling me. And so, and then once construction started last year in January, for the past year, not a peep. So kind of an interesting little battle. The issue is being raised up through the ladders or the ranks of the post office. And so kind of next steps are to meet with the city, and for the post office to describe exactly what is the issues, and how the city can remedy those. So there's no timeline on when the post office will resume, delivering mail. So as of now, residents have to go pick up that mail over in at the on Garden View Road. So yeah, just a bizarre situation over there in Encinitas. I haven't really heard of anything like that before, but we'll keep following that issue and let you know when mail service gets back up. And then also, with that project, the council in early January had decided to hit the brakes and pause it for the second phase to see how this whole thing will play out. So they're going to analyze it for the next 2 months. So construction is supposed to wrap up next week. They'll analyze it for 2 months. They want to do that specifically while school is in session, because you have San Diego Academy right there. And so they'll analyze it, bring back a report, and then this council will make next steps from there. And so it'll be interesting to see how they incorporate the post office situation within that analysis as well. So yeah, interesting times in Encinitas. But on a lighter note, in Encinitas, story I ran today on Friday is one of an 11-year-old boy named Oliver Pratt, who has been on a fundraising trailblazing effort for the past almost 2 years now to raise money to build a park at the L7 site. That's the controversial site that was just reverted back to parkland by the city council. And so Oliver has been gathering golf balls. Lives in Encinitas Ranch, so right there by the golf course. So he's found a spot where players shank the balls, and he's gathered hundreds and hundreds of balls. Him and his sister and friends, they'll go on the road, because the course is bifurcated by a road, and so sell the balls back to the players at $1 or $2 a pop. And then he's also started a GoFundMe as well. He's raised over $15,000, so it's a pretty impressive effort for him. And then he said one of his big inspirations was another Encinitas resident, 83-year-old Glenn Johnson, who last year put forward a donation of $100,000, and to name the park after his late wife Sally. So it's kind of contingent on the naming rights. Glenn had said that the $100,000 came from her inheritance, and they're big into parks, and they needed it in that area specifically because of over 1,000 homes or residences coming into that area in the next few years. Most likely, we'll see how the Quail Meadows apartment projects appeal the Coastal Commission plays out. But regardless, hundreds of homes will be going there. So many residents feel the L7 lot should be a park. And so Oliver, he's pretty excited. He wants to raise more money. He's even got plans for a brick campaign potentially. So you'd sell bricks, you can inscribe it, raise more money. Maybe that could be a walking path or some sort of retaining wall or something there. But that could be another boost of cash for the city, because the city also wants to incorporate it, at least try to do a public-private partnership. And so with the city was able to find $3.1 million in park mitigation fees. So that's the limit that the city will spend on the park. And so anything outside of that must be raised independently. And so they're looking to connect with a nonprofit of some sort, raise those funds, and then there could be added amenities or features to the park once it gets built. So interesting, little project and fundraising effort. So be sure you can check out, Oliver's efforts on GoFundMe, and then stay tuned for any announcements from him about coming out with a brick campaign or something additional to help get this thing to the finish line. And then also earlier this week, wrote a story on the SANDAG rail realignment. The board approved four options, 5 technically, but the 5th one is a no build, but they have to do that by law. And so this issue continues to be spicy, especially with the city of Del Mar, because they're trying to remove the tracks. So one of the things is NCTD, who owns the rail line, is saying that regardless, if they move it or not, and if they do remove the tracks, east off the bluffs, that the old line will remain active until the federal government, that's BNSF, that's the freight line, and passenger service, all sign off saying they don't need it anymore. So a lot of questions kind of came up with that. The Coastal Commission sent a letter to SANDAG saying that they didn't want a no build option, or just to reinforce the current line as is, because that was one of the alternatives that SANDAG was looking at. And basically it'd just be, seawalls and heavy reinforcement along the current line. Now, whether or not they could double track that's another issue, because SANDAG does want to double track, and the state really with its wants to double track that whole low sand corridor from San Luis Obispo all the way down to San Diego. And so there's still a couple of pockets in San Diego County that aren't double tracked, but SANDAG is trying to work to get those all connected, and so they can hopefully increase ridership. But in the meantime, there are concerns. Some people are like, well, if we're spending $5 billion and we still have to keep a track that's active, why not just reinforce it to as best they can to these incredible standards, and just leave it as is. Others are like, well, they have pointed to the fact that when rail service was shut down, especially in San Clemente, when they had a couple big mudslides that knocked off service, or that disconnected service, basically cut off San Diego County from Orange County and the rest of the line a couple of years ago, it was about over an 19 month period, probably close to maybe a year that was shut down, that nobody really noticed any lack of difference from freight, passengers, service, or the military. So it's still a big issue, contentious. So we'll see what goes down. They're going to have the 4 alternatives, but the SANDAG board said, well, they can add in the other 12 or 1 or 2 or however many they want into the environmental review process, which is going to be starting soon and expected to take about 30 months. As far as the whole project goes, well, that's a different animal. SANDAG CEO Mario Orso said could take anywhere from 20 to 25 years, but they're hopeful that they can get it done much, much sooner. 25 years is a long time for something like that. So it's another issue. And of course, cost. The two most expensive ones would top out at about $5.1 billion. So over the course of those, you could probably expect the cost to increase. So it's quite the mess over there, and in the situation. So and other people have looked at ridership being down 35% since COVID. So is there the benefit? Can they attract the riders necessarily to reduce the subsidy and get it to something that is more akin to what you might find on the East Coast? Well, that's the ultimate question, and there are tons of thoughts on that. So this issue isn't going anywhere for a while. So I'll be following it as I have for the last few years, and so yeah, just keep an eye out for that one as well. And then finally, in Vista, the last week the council had a discussion item about know your rights. So it's kind of a movement that's going across the country, especially regarding the immigration issue. And so it was brought forward by Karina Contreras, and really the council didn't do anything, because at the end of the day, the issue was whether if they would waive fees for a nonprofit group or somebody like that to come in and do a workshop on city grounds. And by waiving fees for one specified group, you'd have to do it for all. So that could really crosses political lines and ideologies and stuff like that. So if you did a know your rights movement here, maybe gun owners come in and do one for them, and or something even more fanatical or radical that comes in, and then now the city is associated with that. So they kind of pump the brakes, but the city council members can each still do like a town hall or something like that on their own and bring in such a know your rights guest or somebody of that nature to discuss those issues. And so that's kind of where Vista ended with that one. So we'll see if anything moves forward on that, but it doesn't seem likely. But still, yeah, it's a growing movement across the country, and we'll see how that all plays out over the coming years, especially with the Trump administration's stance on immigration. So that's kind of it for this week in North County. Next week we've got some good stories coming in for you. Traffic circles in Carlsbad's barrio, and then hopefully some stuff going down in Escondido that I'm really excited to share with you guys. So hopefully that can come through. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and talk to you next week.